part 3. Surely you knew little Miss Ivy and I was going to back our new Syrian discovery up. I mean, I am colored, you know. Oh yeah, remember one of the characteristics of the new and fresh Varangian Rus people trader nation? You know, they basically had an amalgamation program with the nations they served. You know, their prey, pounce, clay, become, and destroy MO. You remember when they told us they changed their customs to fit their environment? Now, I can't hear your answer because this is a video. But if you can remember that, let's continue, please. I'm going to let the beat rock as they talk about the proselytes and those responsible for our ancestors being deported first. Boring. Then, I want you to listen very closely. Quote, Hellenistic Judaism thrived in Antioch and Alexandria. Many of these Greek-speaking Jews who would convert to Christianity. Listen up. Sporadic epigraphic evidence in grave sites excavations, particularly in B, A, I, T, S, and S in Hungary, and Mursa in Croatia, attest to the presence of Jews after the 2nd and 3rd centuries where Roman garrisons were established. Now listen extremely close. There was a sufficient number of Jews in Pannonia to form communities and build a synagogue. Jewish troops were among the Syrian soldiers transferred there and replenished from the Middle East. After 175 CE, Jews, and especially Syrians, came from Antioch, Tarsus, and Cappadocia. Others came from Italy and the Hellenized parts of the Roman Empire. The excavations suggest they first lived in isolated enclaves attached to Roman legion camps and intermarried with other similar Oriental families. I keep looking at that word like, you sure that's Oriental? But yes, it's Oriental. So I'm going to start this again. The excavations suggest they first lived in isolated enclaves attached to Roman legion camps and intermarried with similar Oriental families within the military orders of the region. Raphael P. states that later Roman writers remarked that they differed little in either customs, manner of writing, or names from the people among whom they dwelt, and it was especially difficult to differentiate Jews from the Syrians. After Pannonia was ceded to the Huns in 433, the garrison population withdrew to Italy, and only a few enigmatic traces remain of a possible Jewish presence in the area some centuries later. Stop. Wow. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Similar Oriental families, yet especially difficult to tell Jew from Syrian? Deported Jews in the Roman and Persian armies? Man. So as you can plainly see, ladies and gentlemen, while the Romans were deporting our ancestors in 173 CE, shadow Israel, replica replacements, were probably helping kill and deport them as well. These dirty bastards! This is the real reason why after our ancestors were deported, we still hear about Jews, not Edomites, who would have simply walked home to avoid the murder and theft, but the acronym of Jews not only in Rome, but in some cases in official offices within the Roman government. Surely you know every time it mentions Jewish soldier, it's not talking about our ancestors. No. These are clones from the same strain that was hired to be in the Persian army centuries earlier. In fact, put a bookmark on that spot. We shall return. But first I need to get y'all minds right once and for all in regards to shadowing. Check out not only an eyewitness account to a shadowing, but also a dire warning to future readers of history about the practice. You ready? According to Wikipedia, under Pannonian Avars, Pannonian, Avars, Avars. Subtitle: Origins, Avars, and Pseudo-Avars. I'm going to cut to the chase. Quote, the next author to discuss the Avars, Mander Protector, appeared during the 6th century and wrote of Gurkhurt embassies in Constantinople in 565 and 568 AD. The Turks appeared angry at the Byzantines for having made an alliance with the Avars, whom the Turks saw as their subjects and slaves. T, a Turk prince, calls the Avars Vatronites and, personal quote, escaped slaves of the Turks, who numbered, get this now, about 20,000. Stop. There's no way in Hades 20,000 slaves can escape at one time. The answer? The clone armada they ordered to repopulate and work their lands? They jumped ship. Let's continue if you don't believe me. Quote, many more, but somewhat confusing, only confusing to the highly educated. I'm going to let the beat rock. Quote, many more, but somewhat confusing details come from Theo Semicrata, who wrote in 629 describing the final 2 decades of the 6th century. In particular, he claims to quote a triumph letter from the Turk lord Tabgam. Cut into the chase. Personal quote. Then he enslaved the Avar nation. Listen up. But let no one think that we are distorting the history of these times, because he supposes that the Avars are those barbarian neighboring on Europe and Pannonia, and that their arrival was prior to the times of the Emperor Maurice. For it is by a misnomer that the barbarians on the Ister have assumed the appellations of Avar. The origins of their race will shortly be revealed. Then the Chagan embarked on yet another enterprise and subdued all the Agar, which is one of the strongest tribes on account of its large population and its armed training of war. These make their habitations in the east by the course of the river Til, which Turks are accustomed to call Meles. The earliest leaders of this nation were named Var and Trini. From them, some parts of those nations were also accorded their nomenclature, being called Var and Trini. Then, while the Emperor Justinian was in possession of the royal power, a small section of these Var and Trini fled from the ancestral tribe and settled in Europe. Listen up, listen up. These named themselves Avars and glorified their leader with the appellations of Chagan. Let us declare, without departing in the least from the truth, how the means of changing their name came to them. Stop. Bingo! Wow! According to Google, misnomer means a wrong or inaccurate name or designation. A wrong or inaccurate use of a name or item. I'm not even going to try to break all of that down. It is what it is, and it is what it is. let's keep going, for that was only the tricky part, people. For the Big Fig Newton, listen to how they tell us